Yeah, hey. Tobago updates. Na, 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 na. Good morning.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. On Tobago Updates, viewers, we are being joined on set by Mr. Darion Fraser, Outreach Officer of Adopter River TNT with WASA. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine, thanks. And you?
I am great. So
Nice.
first of all, tell us about the Adopt a River program.
Right, so the Adopter River program is under the Water and Sewage Authority, and it's administered by WRA, which is the Water Resources Agency. Now, many people aren't familiar with WRA, but WRA is a subsidiary of the WASA, and we were created to help people bridge the gap between the environment and the water we get in our taps. Right, we establish environmental programs and projects to help rehabilitate watersheds as well as augment the supply in water-strapped communities.
Okay, great. And then there is a stakeholder consultation coming up this afternoon.
Yes, so that's at the Scarborough Library facility, the Anne Mitchell Gift Auditorium to be exact. It starts at 6. We have 4 speakers, inclusive of Darren Henry of the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry, some officials from the Water and Sewage Authority based in Tobago, as well as TEMA. So you heard Darion Mitchell spoke about TEMA and the important work that they do. So we also have people from TEMA being at our consultation this afternoon to answer people's questions. Now it's the hurricane and rainy seasons, so we need to be informed.
Now, what are you hoping to achieve out of this stakeholder consultation?
Right, so we're trying to get people to understand the importance of taking care of the environment. In my normal travels, I work in Trinidad and Tobago. So when I talk to people throughout the country and ask them, name 3 rivers in Trinidad or Tobago, and then they would be like, okay, give me a while. So they have no idea. You'd have to jog their memories, say, okay, well, even like you're going to Plymouth, do you drive over a bridge? Do you know what river passes under that bridge? That sort of thing. So we need to realize the importance of taking care of rivers. We need to realize that 60% of our water in Trinidad and Tobago that we get, potable water in our taps, comes from rivers, right? As I said before, we want to apprise people of what is going on in terms of being prepared for disasters. We also want people to come out and ask their questions because WASA personnel would be there on hand to answer people that have things about water quality, their water supply. That is important. People don't understand, all right, why at times their water might be coming out the way they want it to come out and that sort of thing. And that is, I get that a lot. Right.
So as you're here, let's get into that.
Okay.
Why is it sometimes that we have so much chlorine in the water?
Okay, so chlorine is basically a chemical that purifies your water in a sense. So at times, of course, when we know people are in quote-unquote desperate need of water, we would kind of have shorten the process in terms of, all right, well, instead of having the water settle, we would put it into the network. So you just get that little bit of chlorine coming in. When I was younger, my grandparents and even parents would say, all right, well, leave it in the glass or the bucket and the chlorine will fizzle out, right? In contact with air, it evaporates. So it's nothing bad, right? So that's
So is it safe for consumption? Because, a lot of people are worried. And then that's why, for instance, the bottled water industry is so lucrative.
Right, so all water was, and I'm not paid to say this, right? Take a look it up online, but WASA's water is WHO accepted. It reaches WHO standards. I mean, we are signatory to WHO, and we have some of the cleanest, safest water in the world, right? So with regards to chlorine, I mean, if there was, now, everything has its toxicity level. If you drink too much water, that could kill you, and that's a real fact, right? So the chlorine, like I said, is used to purify the water. Just let it fizzle out. It's not that you are getting high levels of chlorine to cause bodily harm. It's not like that, yeah.
Tell me about, the health right now of like the Hills Road Dam and those places where you are getting the water from. Are you seeing a change in the water quality from the natural source? And is it resulting in more filtering, more chlorine and stuff that you have to add? What's going on with our water, our surface level water?
Okay, so generally speaking in Tobago, our surface waters are good. They are pristine. Everybody should, well, I shouldn't say everybody should know, but the majority of our rivers in Tobago, they originate from the main ridge forest reserve,
Yes.
and we know the significance of that region, right? So the origins or the upper reaches of these rivers start in the main ridge forest reserve, and they radiate from that area. So in terms of the Hillsborough Dam you asked about, I know recently it was dredged. The water quality is good. In some places in Trinidad, because of habitat impairment, because of industry, there are some rivers that are under threat. And that is what we also want to get across to people. Yes, Trinidad and Tobago is a water-rich country, but even when there's an abundance of rainfall, we have a rain event, you would hear WASA is shutting down certain plants, and that is because the turbidity levels are so high that we aren't able to basically separate the sediment from the water, right? Some people think it's an easy thing, but it's not, right? So that's why we normally would ask the citizens to just have a bit of patience with us, right? It's not something that we can control, but again, that also ties into indiscriminate dumping, indiscriminate clearing of land, so different activities, that sort of thing. So taking care of the environment at the end of the day is really an individual responsibility.
And let's stay right there for a little bit, right? Unfortunately, Tobago is experiencing an increase in dumping, indiscriminate dumping, and so on. And people are, I don't know, they're going through waterways and stuff. You're seeing old fridges and things that we never saw growing up.
Right.
How is that complicating? I mean, you mentioned that it makes the process more difficult, but can you share some more details about why that process is difficult?
Okay, so in terms of the fridges and the stoves, now we have a river cleanup this Saturday at Richmond River, right? We're meeting close to the water treatment plant, right? So when you have those metal components, of course, they are breaking down. And of course, when they break down, they would eventually get into the soil and being washed into the river. So I'm not going to say that we are eating or drinking little pieces of metal, but it might come to that. So we are advising people to really and take care of your garbage. We know that the Division of Health, they have their white waste program ever so often. So we need to really employ these arms of the government to get rid of our waste instead of just dumping it by a river.
All right. What are some of the other things that we need to know in terms of, making sure that our water usage is sufficient?
All right, so we need to stop wasting water, all right? Now, growing up, we know people like to play in water and that sort of thing. And we know we pay a standard fee for basically an unlimited supply. Now, yes, we are on a water schedule. We don't get water every day. But when we do get water, we use exorbitant amounts, right? So we have to be careful of how we wash our wares. Soap the wares first, then rinse. We don't have to wash our clothes ever so often. We don't have to wet down the driveways, right? Use a hose. You could just simply sweep it. Some people love washing their cars. Some people wash their cars in rivers, unfortunately. That is something we have to stop, right?
And why do we need to stop that?
All right, so basically, you're letting chemicals go into the water. So I would use Richmond again as an example. So upstream from the treatment plant, I've seen people literally park in the watercourse itself and they're washing their cars. So there's soaps and detergents that they would use that causes problems because of the chemicals in them. And of course, depending on the age of the car might be leaking fuel, it might be leaking coolant, it might be leaking oil. So all of those things eventually go down to the treatment plant for WASA to deal with, then to send out through the distribution system. So yeah.
All right. And what are some of the other things that you're seeing happening or changing within our culture that is also affecting our water courses?
Okay, so dumping is increasing. And so growing up as a child, we had all these, there was Captain Planet, I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, Captain Planet.
There are lots of initiatives locally that
Ring
people...
power.
There are lots of initiatives that we were aware of that told us, all right, well, we need to take care of the environment. But I guess as the generation changes, I wonder how many people still climb trees or go to a park just to relax, that sort of thing. We are losing touch with nature, and I think that is what we need to get back to. We live an instant life, I would say. So if we're driving and we have a box of chicken and we're eating it, we'd throw it out the window, that sort of thing. Because we are seeing about ourselves. We want to be in a clean space or personal space. When it comes to anything outside of that, then we have disregard for that. So we need to change that mindset.
Now, I know a lot of people often accuse WASA of whenever there is a heavy rainfall, we don't have any enough retention ponds to hold the water that naturally comes down on us,
Right.
and have it there on reserve for the dry season when water naturally is of shorter supply. Can you give us any perspectives on that and on that complaint that we hear from the public all the time?
Okay, so the thing about it is Trinidad and Tobago, yes, we are a water-rich country, but you remember, was that in April or May, we had 2 days of heavy rainfall, and that 2 days, it was so much rainfall, they said it should have taken a month. So we're getting, because of climate change, and we're all aware of this, climate change is causing issues. Rain isn't falling as it used to. It's not falling one way it's supposed to. And two, we are experiencing short, intense bursts of rain. So nature in itself, the land isn't able to cope with the amount of rainfall that we're getting. And of course, again, humans, we are building where we're not supposed to build. We are eroding rivers, changing the courses of rivers, basically modifying the land to suit our needs, and that is causing problems. So it's a multiplicity of things that we experience, and we as humans again need to realize that we need to change what is going on.
What about runoff? And I know that's a concern because, oftentimes we build our houses, you have your drains and so on set up,
Right.
and all the wastewater sometimes go into just a drain, and you don't think about where it ends up, but
Right.
it eventually ends up in the sea or it might end up in the river.
Exactly.
How much is that complicating the quality of our water?
All right, it is complicating. And one litmus test I say people could use is if you go to, let's say, a river and you recognize there's algal blooms in the water, then that is from fertilizers. It's also from soaps and detergents. So the same nitrates, phosphates that you get in those soaps, it's the same chemical compounds found in those fertilizers. So you're basically feeding the moss, as we would commonly call it, to grow. So that is one major indicator. What I would say is that you can use now, I don't know how many people younger than me are familiar with dasheen bush, right? We grew up seeing or for parents planting dasheen bush in a particular area. Now, obviously, the dasheen bush is absorbing those nutrients from the chemicals from the soapy water, right? So we can import things like that. We can actually collect that water and wet our lawns, wet our household plants. It's fine. So it takes, even like recycling, it takes a bit of discipline, but once you get the ball rolling, it becomes easier. So we just need to find ways of dealing with that.
Do you think people care enough?
No. No, we don't. We take a lot of things for granted. As I said, we don't know where water comes from. At the end of the day, we need to turn on the tap and water should be coming out. I don't care where it comes from because that is a service I'm paying for, but we really and truly need to take stock. I mean, nature provides us with so many things and we need to start taking care of nature.
One of the criticisms that comes the way of WASA is that, we emphasize so much on controlling how much water people receive,
Right.
but not so much on making sure the leaks stop.
Right. So, interestingly enough, I had a conversation many years ago where someone told me, okay, well, they could waste water because WASA has many leaks, right? And I'm like, well, two wrongs don't make a right, WASA is a company and it has its issues. It's not perfect, that is true. But it is slowly and surely rectifying those leaks. Now, looking for leaks isn't as easy as people think it is, right? So remember, WASA has been out since the 1960s. We have H infrastructure, and we're trying to deal with those issues. So we would say, try as best as you can to conserve water, because at the end of the day, WASA is providing you with a service. WASA doesn't need the water, it's we need the water, so we need to start conserving it.
All right, and as we're getting ready to wrap up this conversation, going back to the Adopt a River program and that consultation that's happening this afternoon.
Yes. Right, so the consultation this evening, 6 p.m., Scarborough Library Facility and Mitchell Gift Auditorium to be exact, right? You can hit us up on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel as well as Instagram. We have a website, adoptorivertt.com. And of course, as I said, we have the river cleanup in Richmond this Saturday at 9. But again, once a lot of us are on social media, you can send us a message. And I want to implore Tobagonians, we have a River Speak spoken word competition coming up. The deadline is the 21st of July. So please log on and get the information and participate.
All right, great. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Fraser, for being on with us and giving us that information. And viewers, if you are interested and want to see how you can help in terms of protecting our rivers and water courses and making sure they stay clean, because of course, if they stay clean, then we can ingest clean water. It's all to the benefit of us.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for having me as well.
All right, great. Well, viewers, that's how we're going to wrap our show this morning. But before I go, I have to talk about that roadshow that's coming up, the Tobago Updates Television Roadshow, because why? We are a television station. Now, you can view us on Channel 1 or 2 on Amplia. And if you want to hear more, if you want to be part of the excitement, because we want to see you out with us on the road tomorrow. So we're going to be in Scarborough just for a little bit at around 2:30, and we're going to be going around and heading up to the countryside, because we've noticed that some of our loyal viewers are up on the eastern end of the island, and we want to thank you so much for supporting us from the time that we started in October 2018, 2021. I'm forgetting what year I'm in right now, but that's okay. Viewers, I just want to thank you. So be a part of the motorcade that's happening and be part of the exciting move that we are making to being a television station as we continue to bring Tobago to the world. All right, so thank you again. And viewers, we would see you tomorrow.